Hello. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. I hope everybody's having a great day. It's the 21st of October. We're chugging through October, almost Halloween. We're going live episode of 51. Halfway 100 mark. That's always a good one to hit. So again, I hope everybody's having a great day. Once again, joining me are Joe and Wyrm for our triumvirate of informative information for you, all about, of course, various tabletop games from RPGs, CCGs, and beyond. So today we have a wonderful docket for you to go over. Starting out, we will talk a little bit about role-playing games with Pathfinder and their tile packs and flip maps. Because tiles and maps have already existed, but I feel like Pathfinder puts out a lot more than like Dungeons and Dragons ever did. They seem to come up with so many different types of tiles and things to throw at us. So I want to talk about that a little. And then we have a couple of board games to talk about. Spynet, Junggle with two Rotten Plots, and Dungeon. Then we're going to move on to our regular segments, which first off is a new regular segment, Kickstarter Korner, where each brings a Kickstarter game to the game that we want to talk about for a little bit that we're thinking interesting and is more to consider. Then our week in gaming, and we'll finish up with our Q&A for anybody that has any questions. You can think of them now. You can, of course, always put them in chat. Just chat. No. I would put it in there right when we're finishing up our week in gaming so we can notice it. Again, if you don't have one today, you can always message us from various sources we'll talk about at the end of the episode. Alright, let's dive in though for our RPG segment for today, the map packs / flip maps from Pathfinder. Now, I'm not going to argue that other people have had maps. A lot of starter sets that D&D's done over the years have had maps. Dungeons & Dragons actually had big tile packs originally too. But I feel like while those came out, a couple of them, I've somewhat seen more from Pathfinder doing this than I feel like than Dungeons & Dragons did, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's like if I was talking about Roll20, you'd have assets to build your own maps, and this is what it is. Now, granted, this week, when I was talking about it, we had fungal forests, which is a kind of weird one, where it's okay, you can have a fungusy area in caves or maybe in the middle of an actual forest. The flip map, which is a bigger keep, which is just basically another keep, but it's a flip map, which is I think they're dry erase maps a little bit. I've only seen them one time, so it's hard to remember exactly the material it's made of, but I think you could, wipe them off after you mark them if you need to. And then a flip map for Starfinder, which is a cantina, which is okay, a bar, That seems so simple, but, I guess they're going for everything for that. So first off, I do have a question to both of you, is this a good thing that they're putting out so many? Granted, again, it does, I know, help for map making for some people that aren't good at it, but map making can be a fun thing for budding game masters / dungeon masters.
So, I really like map making, but when it comes to physical tiles, it's really hard to make good ones, because it takes a lot more effort. Either because you have to do it by hand, or you have to print them out, and you'd want them to be on a sturdier surface, or at minimum a card stock, which generally you almost have to go to a print store to accomplish some of this, especially if you want to laminate it so they last longer, or something. It's a hassle. I've looked into it before, but I do love map packs like this, and I would say there is no too many. You can always have more.
I can agree to a degree on that, yes. You can always have more.
Though with the one thing that annoys me looking through it, when I was looking through it, a lot of them say out of print, out of print, out of print, out of print. I mean, you can't get physical copies of them.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of these, because what, now I have to go to a print shop and do everything that I just said was a big hassle if I wanted to make my own with these.
Granted, the PDFs aren't terrible, and it's like, it is a shortcut, but if you consider the cantina, it's like $10.50 for the PDF. So if I really wanted to make a map of a bar that I guess I could reuse and change things around, and yes, it's got two sides, it still feels like you are getting that detailed map, but the PDFs just... I agree. It's like, what are you going to do with them? It's just not nearly as good as actually getting the physical copy, which is like, I feel is what you would want to get something like this for. Granted, there is this, like, definitely the culture of the PDF for role-playing games exists, so I understand why they have it, but still.
Mm-hmm. It's just, it's you have to, but like, so it's like you not only have to buy the PDF, but you have to go through the trouble of probably going to a print shop and paying for all of that.
Well,
on top of it.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say there could be one use for the PDF, and that would be like stuff like Roll20.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could get that and use it for that, and then you're not having to sit there and create your own maps and stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do get that, but Roll20 has a great marketplace designed for Roll20 that is honestly cheaper than these, and probably gives you more tile sets per pack than these.
Yeah.
True.
They might not have the flip maps the same way, which are big things that are pre-built, but how...
Well, the map packs are like groups of tiles.
I know, like, the map packs are a group of files, but like the flip maps, which are definitely... They're similar, but they are different beasts also, too.
Oh,
like,
they have something very similar to flip maps. It's basically just pre-built like little areas. I have several of them.
Okay, so see, that does help a lot. And but that's the thing, is like, even when we're talking out of game, a flip map to a tile set are definitely very different. A flip map is, a map that you might be able to use in adventure, but yes, okay, so I could reuse this in adventure, change what's in the rooms, things like that. But how many times can I use it before familiarity settles in, especially because a lot of times people have a lot of the same gaming groups?
So I don't think that's actually as big of an issue, because when it comes down to it, the flip maps aren't used for dungeons. Some of them appear to be, but I think they should be used for the PCs decide to attack these people in this area, and just let me find the terrain type and put it down, and now we have a map. That's what the flip maps are for. If you want to build a dungeon, I would recommend building it ahead of time and knowing what you're building with, more of the tile pieces.
Well, I think that's why, like, the keep is such a is a little bit more along the lines of in between that, though. Because it's made for, like, oh, we're defending this keep against stuff, or we're attacking this keep. And, I mean, invading a keep, yes, you're probably not going to do it very often, but maybe you're setting up an adventure where that can occur a lot. Well, I guess I could see using it for a long-term adventure if a group that you're at war with would have, like, a lot of keeps that were built similarly, with just slight little changes to, like, some of the rooms and your descriptions and stuff. Same format, maybe. But then I guess, like, how many times does that actually occur in, like, how real life, how you think about ancient civilizations and then building, like, small keeps and stuff. They usually build them to train. So, like, that's why I do like the tiles a little better, I think, because that's a little more interchangeable anyway.
Yeah.
Granted,
some things like the keep, yeah. I mean, even looking at the keep one that you brought up.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even look that big in terms of, like, if you wanted to use it for a full dungeon.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly how big it's, because they're just like, we have some samples we're showing here,
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
But it's a single flip map, right? Or is it several flip maps?
No, it's a single flip map, I think.
Yeah, then they show both sides of this, which I think is like...
Yeah, like...
Which is weird, because there's like a road and then a keep.
Yeah. And then a second floor is the other side.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's either could be considered on water or maybe surrounded by a moat or something, that they just have a very complex looking moat that they only see a little bit of the land. But yeah, and like for the Starfinder, the cantina, I could use that same format of bar pretty easily and probably excuse it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that one's a lot more useful for the flip maps. So it's like, I need a bar, and they have shady bar and upscale bar. Like on either, well, I guess cantina is what they call them in, you know, space. But on either side, I can flip to that. And I could definitely see, like, in a Starfinder game where, you know, you need this bar with this name, just change some things about the details inside. I mean, you know, maybe it's a slight franchise throughout the galaxy. You know, it's like diners from New Jersey back in the 50s. They all kind of looked a lot the same, you know?
Right.
Was the changes on the inside just a little bit that, you know, franchised them out. So maybe there's a franchise of cantinas you can scare. It's like same group of people built them and just other people bought them up and made them their own inside. Which is, you know, perfectly explainable. That's like something that could happen in a more futuristic society. So, hey, I could use this cantina in my adventures over and over again. Just, again, yeah, details. But, I mean, they have come out with a lot of different flip maps and tile sets is the only thing, too. Their map packs are pretty extensive list of them, it looks like, overall. And they're planning on coming out with more anyway. It seems like they keep... Which, I mean, is not a bad thing that they keep coming out with them. But they have, what... 74 map packs for the tiles and 74 flip maps.
Yeah, and if you have if you have a decent amount of disposable income,
yeah,
$8, you know, it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive either.
No, and definitely, you know, I feel like it's, if you're looking for something that you think you'll use a lot, the map packs definitely could help too. I definitely feel like that's a better one for quick builds and stuff. If I had all 74 and I just, you know, granted, if you had all 74, you'd be spending a lot of money to get it, but still.
Well, yeah, usually you'd pick and select ones you plan to use.
Yeah, but you could easily just like throw them out and be like, I assemble something, you know, you can look at. And I guess the flip maps, a little bit the same, you know. If it's something you think you could use a lot, then definitely I would say use it. But they actually do have like layers and things that for the flip maps I feel are a little bit more dungeony. So yeah, I think that's when it becomes a little bit questionable, as you were saying. Do you have anything on this, Joe?
I mean, you know, we've kind of covered it. They're useful for certain situations, especially if your group likes to have more. I can tweet today. Actual visual stimulus for your game instead of just trying to, you know, keep everything in your head.
Yeah.
I think our games tend to be a little more in our head than. Mm-hmm. Actually mapping things out, or we just do rudimentary things with dice.
Yeah.
But they definitely do have their place. They do add another level to it, and they're always useful. I mean, especially the tiles you can use over and over again. The flip mats are more of a one-time use, I see them as.
I can see them as being useful, and if you have the income, some of them may be used more than once. It's using the same map, but putting a different spin to it can make a difference. Yeah. I mean, but then they do also have things like, I just noticed while just peering through them, they have the Emerald Spire flip mat set, which the Emerald Spire, I remember, is like a mega dungeon that they have. So it's akin to a campaign, except it's like 16 floors, I think it was.
That's a lot of floors.
But they have 8 flip maps for $80 that you can explore the entire dungeon. it's hard to reuse something like that unless you play Emerald Spire again with a different group of people, which that's not always easy to get different groups of people for these games. So
Right. And how many times do you really want to run the same thing?
yeah, there's only so many times it can be different.
So it's like, it's $80 for something really cool for a game, but
You might not be doing it again.
it's like, oh, I guess I could resell them to someone else who wants to do it.
Yeah.
Well, except they're PDFs.
Well, I mean, the
true.
PDF's 56. The print
Right.
the back order of the print is 80, which is in
Yeah.
back order.
Ooh.
God.
Well, that must mean they're at least popular.
They apparently are. Well, the thing is, I can understand it. I read through a little bit of Emerald Spire. It is a really good, big old dungeon crawl. Where if you want an actual, more classic dungeon crawl kind of game, that's one that I could recommend doing. It's going to be, though, like a mini campaign, as I said, because you go through a lot of levels.
As an idea, though, what I would be doing as Pathfinder is actually targeting game stores to buy them, and then rent them out for players to use.
Ooh, that would be good.
That would be.
Also, game stores could run some of these over and over again, and
Exactly. Then they're actually getting their money's worth for using them, but they could also rent them out to, hey, you want to run this game, run it here, and instead of spending $80 for all these floors, we'll rent them out to you for like $20.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting thing I hadn't thought about. I'm surprised more game stores don't do more stuff like that or things like that, but that would be cool. All right, though. So that's kind of our thoughts on the map packs as they are now. I think we've had a little bit of talks about map packs in the past, but I don't think we've had this conversation the way it is as we have had now. So it's been good to bring it up and talk about it a little bit because it is something that Paizo's doing a lot of. So we do have to, you do have to think about it because more of them are going to be coming out. That's for sure. All right, then why don't we move on because we do have some more things to handle. Spynet. So this is a card game that came out. It's everybody takes command of their own spy agency, and you have to kind of disrupt the plans, gather the intelligence of other spy groups, and be the best spy agency there is. There's 4 branches of espionage you'll be working with over the course of your games. You'll be recruiting and deploying agents on various missions. And it's basically rival spy masters for being the best there is. So, Joe, can you look at this? Would you be able to take over for a second? Just because I'm getting an Uncle Matt yelled in the background. I should probably check him off.
Attack of the Stream knees.
Well, fortunately, she's in another room, but no, I'm the only one watching her. Captain
I actually just downloaded the rules. I can speak today because they do have them on their site, and it's by Z-Man Games. The artwork is very basic, but still kind of cool. It's a black and white artwork, and then they have the certain colors added in to represent the faction. Looks like there's 4 basic factions. There's enforcement, infiltration, counter-espionage, and tech. So basically, you're both building your story basically from one central deck, where you get your missions and stuff you have to control. Sorry, just kind of like overlooking stuff on the fly here. So, also other basics, it's 2 to 4 players, 30 to 45 minutes, and it's $20.
And it seems like there's a bluff aspect to the game, which is fun. Those are always fun.
Oh yeah, it's always good to have that little aspect of, hey, maybe I'm doing this. Try to throw the person off.
Where are we at now?
I just went over basics of like how much it was, how many players, what the four categories are.
Cool.
Enforcement, infiltration, counter espionage, and tech.
Players are divided into teams of 2.
Although there is a 3-player variant too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there's one that's with 2 to 3 players. The game is played individually instead of teams.
Oh, cool. Oh.
So that's nice. It has a variant there that, it's 2 to 4 players, but you can do it with 3. It's just it's done a little bit differently.
Yeah. Huh. It's designed by Richard Garfield.
Okay, so game end is when the last card is taken from the deck. Each player, including the player currently taking their turn, will take one final turn, and then the game ends during the final turn. You must deploy. You can choose not to play or pass any cards while deploying. At the end of the game, reveal all mission cards in play. Add up the points of the missions owned by you and your teammate. Taking into account the condition on mission cards. Team with the most points wins the game. Teams tied. Okay. The team's tied. The team that owns the most funding cards wins. There's still a tie. Teams share the victory. So you could have a true stalemate.
Cool. Well, is it the actual same Richard Garfield that I'm thinking it is, which is the guy who designed Magic? Because he does board games too still.
I don't know.
That's I don't know.
I would guess, but
there's the only Richard Garfield I know in game design. So it's sort of like, is he the one that made this?
I also comment on the artwork is interesting because it's black and white except for like the clothes they're wearing and the border of the cards.
Yeah, basically, and also the little symbols up in the top corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a very interesting design aesthetic to it. That it's got color that pops out, representing that color very well. Which is cool. So yeah, I think this is an interesting one, definitely, because it's a different take on the spy sort of game. Most spy games, I kind of feel, are more like Resistance, where it's sort of like you're a group of people and then a couple people are like the true enemies, and they feel more co-op, and then you go against it. This one, yes, it's like teams of 2, but there is that single player variant for 3 players that Joe talked about, so you can get everyone versus each other in spy games. So
yeah,
and I don't think I've heard a lot of games that are like that when it comes to the spy concept. So, excuse me. Cool.
Yeah, it seems like a very interesting game. I'd try it out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a chance at PAX.
This is true. We'll have to take a look at what we can find while we're there, or what we could borrow from the pile of board game kind of area. Anyway. So Richard Garfield's Spynet is out now. It's available. It's $20. So check it out if you're interested. Let's move on though to Welcome to the Jungle, or Jungle, because 2 G's. So this one, I just wanted to talk about it because it's an interesting take on a little available game. So it is really simple. It is probably more family friendly than a lot of things we talk about. Definitely, that's for sure. But I
think you could see that in the artwork.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's 5 games in 1, which I think is an interesting thing for them to not only have, but it gives variety, which I kind of like that. I could purchase this now. Granted, they're supposed to be short games, but I could very well just get this product and I have 5 games. Period. Right there. And it uses the same deck of cards, the same sort of spinner. Each of the games is their own, use of it. And I think that's what makes it a little more interesting. And it's short games, you know?
And it's 2 to 10 players.
Yeah, 2 to 10. You're only supposed to take 10 to 15 minutes, I guess, depending on the game. And it's for, you know, you could have, it's for younger kids, like 7 or older. So you can definitely do this a little bit more with family, and that's probably a great idea for it.
The one thing I find a little creepy is all the animals seem to be smiling. And it's a game of like, hey, here's the food chain.
It kind of is.
Well, it's not really the food chain, because that's what's so funny, because it's like a cycle of what's afraid of what, and I really like how it loops back around, because it's like, oh, then the mouse is afraid of the snake, and then the elephant is afraid of the mouse, and then it goes back around.
And for some reason, I don't know why, but the rhinoceros is afraid of an elephant.
And bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger. I don't know.
Also, birds. Are rhinoceros herd animals or loner? I don't.
They can be in small groups, as far as I know, but they do have lone ones. I think it's a lot of times more similar to elephants, but in smaller groups. That like you have maybe like a dominant male.
I also think it's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, because rhinoceroses is one of those animals which I see everywhere, yet I realize I know nothing about.
A group of them is called a crash.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that the elephant actually gets a different color for its tusks, but for some reason the rhino is like a pinkish purple as well as its tusk.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you really look at a rhino, its tusk does look a lot like its normal coloration anyway. So.
And the alligator's teeth are green.
Okay, yeah, that's a little.
It's like the only one that deserves a difference is the elephant for some reason.
Because he never forgets, and you won't either.
And he's top of the scare to scare the other animals.
Fear chain.
The fear chain.
And the some reason crocodiles are afraid of lions.
Yes, and hyenas are afraid of crocodiles. I mean, I guess that
I'm pretty
works.
sure I've seen a crocodile eat a lion before.
Probably.
On some sort of Discovery Channel
I wouldn't
thing.
be surprised to see a lion eat a crocodile either.
It's true.
I guess it depends on where you get the one. If you get it in the water, the croc's probably going to win. If the croc's on land, the lion's got a better chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a mini game. It's 5 mini games about that. The same relationship. It's the kind of order of them and the tiles. And each one has a various challenge that, could be good for just 2 or groups. I guess some games are better for less people than others. More better for, really big groups. It depends on which one of the 5 mini games you have, which... unfortunately, they don't have a huge amount. They don't really have any kind of special download for me to check.
They mentioned one of the ones they mentioned is like a scramble to try to, like all the tiles are flipped over and you're trying to wreck the fear chain the quickest or something.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. I guess it's.
I definitely see this one as more of a kids game than anything.
Yes. And with the 45 animal cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not an even amount, though. 45. Because then it would be 7 per player, which would be 42 for 6 players and 3 extras.
There's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
Probably a game that requires, a
certain number of each of them.
Yeah.
Like the one that Joe's talking about, where it's assemble it the quickest, probably you only can do for so many players for that one. And I think the thing that's really great about this one is $13. It's $13 for this small thing that you can play a whole bunch of different ways, and it's family friendly. And I think you don't get as many quick small games like this which have that variety, and so that's why this one sort of stood out for me, because it does have a good variety for what you're getting. Most times when you buy a game, you get 1 game, maybe 2 different game types if you're lucky. This has 5.
I take back what I said earlier. There is one animal that does not seem to be smiling. The mouse. He looks like he's about to crap his pants.
Well, that's what it does. Is like it's also afraid of the elephant. It's just the elephant runs away.
Yes. It's like everything else is smiling, and he's just like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here?
Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap! Holy crap!
Everything can eat me or kill me.
Why am I here? Oh, it is an adorable little mouse, though, and it's unique kind of mouse. I can't remember the type of it that has that like bushy tail.
Yeah, I know there's a certain name for it, and I can't think of what it is.
Yes. Oh well, it'll probably come to me way after we're done this, and it'll be like, oh god, I remembered it.
It's the Bob mouse.
Bob. Of course, I should have known he would have been behind it. So, yes, Junggle. A very interesting game that I could say if you do have younger folks, go ahead and check it out, because it seems like an interesting one. Why don't we talk about the next one, which I wanted to talk about, Rotten Plots, which is another party game, but, I mean, okay.
It's kind of basically a variant of Cards Against Humanity.
Yes, I will not go against that. It is a variant of Cards Against Humanity. But it's all
Not
about...
that that's bad.
No. But the idea of it is you're playing together and you're coming up with terrible movie plots, and you're trying to, like, I guess, win awards. So there must be there has to be a method of how to actually do this. Which, I mean, you know,
I'm guessing it's like a voting thing, just
probably,
like,
you know.
I wonder if this is how Sharknado was created.
Well, I love what the genre ones are, though. There's thriller, musical, western, porn, and mystery. Which, I just want to take the last three and combine them and make it a western porn mystery.
That would be really weird. It's a western murder mystery that's actually a porn.
Fine. Missing Cantus.
Oh god. So there's apparently 5 card types that you use to create your plot. Protagonist and a trait/object, the first action, antagonist, and final action. And an executive producer chooses the card genre. The players create which I'm guessing is sort of like when you have Cards Against Humanity, the person that reads off stuff. You know, that's the executive producer. They're like, so I want a western this time, or or you could be like, for you could be like, I want a western porn mystery. You know. And so
I want a porn period piece.
Yes. So people have to take their 5 cards and come up with that, and then the executive producer gives out the award for best, and to get the most rewards, you win. You know, and you start with 3 of each type of card, and I'm guessing just like with Cards Against Humanity, as you use them, you'll draw 5 new cards each turn.
Oh god. And then the example plot: an alcoholic clown with a bunch of missing teeth must pin the tail to a real donkey while a feral child with a bloody stick
opposes him and
ruins the birthday party for everyone.
And ends up ruining the birthday party for everyone. There's the alcoholic clown missing a bunch of teeth that needed to pin the tail on a real donkey, ruins the birthday party by doing so, while being opposed by a feral child with a bloody stick.
Yes.
I need a drink.
Is that the feral child?
Yes, that's the feral child. She doesn't have a bloody stick right now.
Well, give her a moment.
I don't have a drink.
Okay, I'll come down and get you a drink in a little bit.
I need it now.
Okay, you need it now. Do you have anything else to talk about? Let's try to figure out something to talk about this for like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Or a drink.
Well, if you want, we can go over all the genres.
Sure. Talk a little bit about the genres and come up with some kind of discussion based upon this type of game.
Okay. So let's see. We covered the thriller, musical, western, porn, mystery. There's also romance, historical, science fiction, fantasy, period piece, apocalyptic, foreign, documentary. I can speak today. Documentary, action, comedy, horror, anime, animation, drama, and biopic. So they actually cover like a decent chunk of genre. I also love the names of the different donation packs. Extremely poor person pack for $5. The regular person pack for $15. The cool person pack for $35, and the extra cool person pack for $50. Oh, and then oh my God, there's 2 more. So then there's the absolute coolest person pack for $75, and then we like you pack for $100. Oh wait, oh my God, it still goes. Then we really like you for $150. We love you pack for $300, and the Psycho Fanatic super pack for $5,000.
Okay, these are like pre-order packs, right?
Yeah, this is on their Kickstarter page.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a Kickstarter. Okay.
Oh no, Indiegogo. I'm sorry, Indiegogo.
Indiegogo.
Yeah, it's an Indiegogo. So
yeah, for $5,000, I'm looking on their webpage, so I didn't realize it was a.
Okay. Yeah, so for $5,000, you get a crap ton of stuff, and you're the Psycho Fanatic super.
What did I miss? $5,000? What?
On their Indiegogo page, you can pledge different amounts for the game. There's the $5 extremely poor person pack, all the way up to the Psychotic Fanatic super pack for $5,000.
Were they finished that, or is that still going now? Because they're selling it available on their site.
Oh, it is
on their
closed.
site. Okay, it is closed, but on their site, it looked like
Dead End Entertainment.
They're selling it, but I think it says order now.
Okay.
Or no, that probably does mean.
Yeah. So
I mean, they're probably like about to
yes
sell it, or they're like
they're getting the releases together, the orders together, and probably sending out the first shipment soon.
Yeah.
So you can get it now.
And it is 3 to 10 players, 30 to 60 minutes, and 17. 17 plus.
Yes. Well, as soon as you said the words porn genre, I think we proved it was 17 plus.
But as I said earlier, though, when I went through all the genres, they actually do cover a lot of genres. Everything from biopic to foreign.
So I guess you just...
Okay.
I also found it really funny because when I was like looking this up, I ran into it on boardgamegeek.com, and it's funny because it says must be 17 plus to play. Please don't show this to your kids. Jesus Christ, please don't.
It's like, we advise against this. Please do not do stuff that is crazy and bad for the children. Think of the children.
I'm just hoping the example plot is not for a port. Because that'd be a really messed up port.
What, the one that they have with the clown?
Yes.
Oh God.
Oh, that's really bad. This has gotten a lot worse.
You're welcome.
Oh.
Well, it does ruin the birthday party for everyone.
It gives a whole new meaning to pin the tail on the real donkey.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so that's Rotten Plots, which I guess if you enjoy Cards Against Humanity and similar games, you'll probably like this one, and it is an interesting variation on it.
I would like it.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting variation because it gets to as creative and interesting as you want it to be, you know? And as, I guess, lewd as you want it to be. It's those weird combinations that, again, it's exactly like we were saying, like, that combination of plot could apply to many different genres, and whichever one you said would represent an entirely different film when you're thinking about it.
An anime.
Probably a horror movie, too.
No, a musical.
I could see a musical, too. I don't think it would be a very good musical, but I could see the musical. Alright, that's Rotten Plots.
Alcoholic Clown, the musical.
It's $30. It's a scene movie-making party game that you can get, well, now. Dead Ends Entertainment is selling it.
And I think $30 is really good on par there.
Oh yeah, it's a really nice price. All right, the final board game we'll talk about today, because it's been a very board game intensive couple of weeks, which is fine. If that's what's being released, that's what we're talking about. Dungeon Hustle. Okay, so this one at first glance seems just like your average kind of dungeon crawl board/card game, because there are a lot of those. You know, you are taking the role of fighter, rogue, cleric, mage. The object is to get treasure, keep the monsters from escaping. But there are some unique aspects to it. It's semi-cooperative, because you are trying to get the best treasure, but there are only so many monsters that can escape into the world before everyone loses. So they keep monsters from escaping is something that people are going to have to work together to. And then it's you build your own path through it. So it does have the ever-changing dungeon that are 3 levels, where you earn points, gold, treasure, quests for all 3, and the most win. So I think that's it. It's the ever-changing nature of it, which I like. And then it's a lot of times these games like this are either full cooperative or competitive. A semi-cooperative one I don't think I've seen a lot of, if any.
Yeah.
Semi-cooperative are rare in general.
Yeah.
And we've talked about 2 of them today.
Yes, I guess that's true.
Because Spynet was as well.
Yeah, Spynet's a semi-cooperative. And I think that's one of those things is, it is a very interesting style of gameplay. I would call something, like the big one would be like Betrayal at House of the Hill, which I guess it goes from, it's semi-cooperative to antagonistic to teamed, maybe. Because that one's a very interesting, it has the semi-cooperative spirit without being a direct one, I think. But it's that sort of thing is, you are all in a way working together while all still trying to win. And granted, I know there's a couple of games you could play semi-cooperative. Like, for example, Castle Panic. We play it fully cooperative, but there's a variation where every person keeps track of the monsters they kill, totals up the points. How many points you win at the end wins the game, more than everyone else.
I didn't know about that.
Yes.
That one actually.
When we first
I'm trying to remember. There was a game. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
When we first played the game, I read that off, and we just decided to ignore that to begin with, and we haven't brought it up since then. We don't, and it's been a lot of years, and we don't play it enough to be like, oh, there's that variation where we keep track of how many points we each earn.
I like I like doing the cooperative version anyway.
Well, yeah, we just ignore and basically say like everyone earns the points. It's as simple as that, and that way it's just full cooperative. Because otherwise, Castle Panic can be sometimes hard enough that you don't have to worry about that. I mean, that's another level that I don't feel like we absolutely need, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dungeon Hustle, first off, yes. The semi-cooperative nature of it definitely brought my attention to begin with. Just because, yes, semi-cooperative games are a little more rare. It is supposed to be from 2 to 4 players. So you can't, you got all the dungeon room cards, 4 characters. So you are all going to take on one of those 4, archetypes. And that's what you're going to have. 20 quests, 30 items, gold, counters. So a good amount of stuff in the box, which is good. And it's $25, so that's, for the amount of things you have in the box, not a bad price.
I think it's interesting that when you're trying to move from one area to another, you want to collect the same color pieces.
Yes.
To actually earn them, to then use them against fighting the monsters.
Yeah. The idea of, like, sticking to a color is very interesting, too. Where you sort of start out in a direction and keep with that direction almost for the best results.
Right.
And of course, you'll fight monsters and go on quests and stuff, so there is a lot. So yeah. What was I gonna? I was gonna say something, and then brain just stopped working all of the sounds. So there's a leveling up. You have powers that can help others. There will be rewards you'll get. You will descend levels of it. When you reach the 4th level of the dungeon, basically the decks have been exhausted 3 times, or the monster escape counter reaches the end of the track. If it reaches the end of the track, everyone loses. After the deck is exhausted the 3rd time, you score. And for each level you get 5 points. For each gold you get 1. Items have scores. Quests have scores. Call it a day.
I finally remembered. I was racking my brain trying to remember the game. Another semi-cooperative game which I actually find is really good is Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter, yes.
Yeah.
They actually just came
it's like
out...
you have your personal goals and you also have your...
Well, they just came out with an interesting variant on Dead of Winter with the latest expansion that I wasn't going to actually talk about today. I think it's Warring Colonies, where players take 2 sides, and you have to work for your side. You're basically your colony to be the dominant one.
Yeah, I saw that. The weird thing I thought was it was up to 11 players.
It is.
Which, that's an odd... Not only it's an odd number, but it's an odd number.
Well,
yeah.
Because it's like, why is there an odd man out?
It seems like it's probably just going to be, like 2 groups.
Yeah.
Right, but why would one group get an extra person?
There must be a reason for it, and I know they do say, like, 11-player games seems like a daunting task, but since you're taking simultaneous turns, and there's, like, timers to keep things moving, basically, like, yes, it does seem like a lot, but since you're 2 teams, it's not that long.
Right. Well, I'm not saying about just about.
Perhaps you should save this for next week or something.
Yeah, if we want to talk about Warring Colonies,
Yeah.
we could move it if we want to talk about it. Since Dead of Winter is an interesting one, I just didn't know how much we wanted to talk about that one, since it is technically just a new variation on an older game. So
yeah. Well, to be fair though, it's a new variation, so
that's true. A new variation
on a very good game.
That's true.
Yeah.
Also, Dead of Winter is good. I have, again, maybe we'll talk about that next week then and add it in as one of our topics, since we'll see. We can always do that. Dead of Winter sounds like a fun one. But getting back to Dungeon Hustle, yes,
Hustle.
So I was saying stuff and then I forgot what I was saying because I always forget what I'm saying. And Joe, do you have anything to say?
Do the hustle. No.
2 of us grew along with the music there for a second.
Well, the 2 older ones who probably know the song somewhat.
It's still like
It's a 70s song.
I know, it's still way
before we
older
were
than
born.
us. I know.
Yeah, still before we were born, but it was still like replayed on the radio when we were growing up.
One thing that's nice about Dungeon Hustle is it's also 2 players.
Yes, you can do it just with a 2-player game, which can
That's a little rare.
It actually reminds me a little bit of Dungeon.
Yes. Oh yeah. The semi. It's technically D&D but weird. Game.
Yeah, it's a D&D board game, but it's a little different.
Yeah.
It's a very simple game.
It's D&D and monsters and themes, pretty much
Yeah.
only.
Yeah, and classes.
Well, I mean, the classes are standards.
Yeah.
They use a lot of the standard classes. It's fighter, rogue, cleric, wizard, which this one has most of the standard array. It's basically fighter, rogue, cleric, mage. Ooh,
So different.
It's incredibly different. I know.
Really breaking the mold with that one.
I'm a mage, whether you like it or not.
No one calls me a wizard and gets away with it. Oh, insulting! I am a mage.
I have never whizzed in my life.
I'm far superior to those wizards. All right. Anyway.
I'm now getting an idea for a pretentious wizard character.
Yep.
I was about to break into Monty Python. Go away, you silly puzzle. I am a mage, not a wizard.
So yes, Dungeon Hustle out now. Either of you have anything else to say about it before we move on to our regular segments?
No.
Cool. All right, so it's our new regular segment that we're bringing in here. It's going to be our Kickstarter Korner. Probably with 2 Ks if I ever spell it out. Oh, I did not update the docket, but fortunately Alicia's not here to try to check it.
You're wrong, sir.
Out there somewhere, Lisa, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So one of our first of our regular segments, Kickstarter Korner, where from like some Kickstarters that either came out this week or have been ongoing that we haven't talked about that we find really interesting, we bring in and talk a little bit about them, discuss them a little bit, their merits, what we think about them, and whether we want to support them or not, kind of things like that. We're talking about interesting ones because we think are these might be cool to support. So Joe, why don't we start with you? Since I know you have one that you can talk about here. You did end up learning about.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of time to go over everything, but
I know.
I got some basics. So I looked up on Kickstarter Aliens and Asteroids, which I actually might invest in because you can do a pledge of 10 or a pledge of 25, which is cheap as hell. For 10, you're going to be getting all the core book PDF and all digital stretch goals. For the 25, you get a softcover book, the PDF and all the digital stretch goals. So either one is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's futuristic, sci-fi game in space. They compare it a bit towards let's see, inspired science fiction films like Aliens, Starship Troopers, games like XCOM, UFO Defense, and TV shows like Babylon 5 and The Expanse. You're basically playing Space Marines, which and the characters, the character creation and everything is really interesting. With character creation, you have to look at your origin, where you're from, where were you raised, where they lived in the lives before joining the ranks of the Space Marines. The attributes are
standards.
Accuracy, athletics, awareness, education, morale, presence, and toughness. You have to actually have a childhood trait, which is the main skill or interest you learn while growing up. I think that's kind of cool. You have a career path, which is anything from just being in the Space Marines, being a commander, a medic, a scientist, Space Marine, technician, and what traits that you're pursuing in that path, and then finishing touches are like your equipment and everything like that.
So it does have a relatively easy character creation for one thing. So
yeah,
I was gonna say I think the interesting thing about it is they do have a dread score. Basically, it's like a terror kind of thing that your characters can encounter while going and exploring these things. It's sort of like, can you stand up to the rigors of like the horrors? It's sort of like I pictured it from Aliens when is it Hicks that goes crazy?
Yeah.
When he's like they're going on about they're all dead, kind of thing. He loses it, and so I can kind of imagine that kind of stress on your characters doing that sort of thing, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and each adventure has a dread rating. That if that's hit, something happens.
Now, I liked about it that it's an inverse 20 system. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I find that really interesting too. That you want to hit a certain number, or below it. So a natural 20 is the worst thing you can roll, and a natural 1 is the best thing you can roll.
And of course, then they have an advantage and disadvantage system a lot like 5th edition, which is fine. I mean, that's something that 5th edition's introduced to the role-playing universe. That's actually pretty good, interesting to have. The just roll 2 dice. But yeah, inverse 20 system is definitely a weird concept, but sure, and Yeah, that's the best thing I can say about it. Sure.
Yeah, I've never played an Inverse 20 system, so it'd be interesting to try.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I'm actually going to invest in this, so hopefully once we get our every other Fridays of random games, maybe this is something we can actually do.
Yeah, try out. That'd be cool. So, yeah. Aliens and Asteroids, the Kickstarter's up now. They're about halfway funded now to what they want for their goals.
And there's 19 days remaining.
Yep. So if you're interested in checking it out, I definitely would recommend it. If you like things like Space Marines and pretty simple systems, hey, that's all you need sometimes.
And you can fight some Greys.
That's true. You can fight some Greys. Give you options for whatever you're gonna murder as part of the Dominion Space Forces.
Which, when I saw that, I almost did a spit take because I'm like, oh no, the Jem'Hadar from Star Trek are back. I want to shoot Wayoon.
Oh god, I got you on.
DS9 fans will actually get a kick out of that one.
Yes, DS9 fans will love that one. You've won over DS9 fans everywhere. Congratulations.
The only problem with killing Wayoon is he comes back.
Yeah. Well, not after they got rid of the cloning facilities.
Well, yes. that was his final clone, and he didn't come back anymore. But that was after, what, almost 10 Wayoons?
Something like that. Oh, God. This conversation's got... I thought it was nerdy enough since we're talking about, like, tabletop games, but we, like, brought it in a whole new direction.
Nerd power!
Alright. Cool. So, Wyrm, did you figure out one that you kind of want to talk about a bit?
So I wanted to look at Battle Lords.
Yes.
It is a science fiction RPG, tabletop RPG, and it is really interesting, actually, because you basically play in a world where a bunch of aliens have united against another set of another alien race called like the Arachnids, or it's like and
Aknarin or something they call it.
Yeah, but it's like Arachnids
yeah.
Anyway, but the thing that's really cool is it's a little bit different in my opinion than a lot of science fiction RPGs, in that it's not so much a bunch of races all against each other that all have their own goals. It's, okay, here are all these races in this like galaxy, and then, oh, okay, there's this threat coming in that we all have to unite against.
Yeah.
It's almost as if if you were to take I'm blanking on the name.
Add some descriptions. We might remember it. Me and Joe are good at these things.
Bananas.
Yeah.
Bananas.
Hive World, what's it called? The Emperor, what's that?
Star Wars?
No. They're like orcs and the
Chorks?
Why am I blanking on this? It's
Are we thinking Sigil?
No, it's a super obvious one. Like
Oh, it's so obvious that I'm not thinking of it. Of course.
Like like humans sacrificed to their emperor who's like in a coma.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it either because.
Oh my gosh! How can I not? Hold on.
Okay, I'll add into this conversation a little bit because I did also learn about this one too. So yes, and it's the backdrop of war in this game, and it seems like you take the role of like different types of classes. Like you could be explorers seeking new aliens and technologies. You could directly be fighting them, or you could do espionage, which may or may not be for a government or corporate backers. They say
Warhammer 40K.
Oh,
gosh,
okay.
there we go.
Okay, Warhammer. Yes.
So
okay.
What I was trying to say, the Arachnids actually kind of remind me of the what are they called?
I know of the race, but I cannot remember the
There's
name.
a race from outside the galaxy who like if it
I'm
ever
not
comes
great
to
at Warhammer
an area,
knowledge, so yeah.
I know. It's like I know all of this, but I'm just blanking on the names for some reason. That if anyone comes to, if they ever like, I want to say like cryptids or something like that.
Yes.
Anyway, is that right?
Probably
I think
not.
it's right.
I have no idea.
Anyway, whenever they enter like an area, it's like everyone stops fighting and like goes against them. It almost seems like that, but on like a larger scale.
Yeah.
And as like the focus of the RPG. And that's what it reminded me of, at least. Gosh, I'm sorry. That was just so bad. I don't...
That's okay. So, they kind of remind you of that. What else can you say about this? Yes.
The thing I find really cool about it is that it's, you know, they have a lot of focus on creating a lot of races for you to play, which, you know, is a little, actually, you know, not every sci-fi game focuses on playable races,
That's true.
which I find interesting. So it's always nice to have, especially, and they seem to focus a lot on the... It doesn't sound... So from what I'm reading, it doesn't sound like they have classes per se.
Yeah.
Instead, they have, like, you know, weapons and armor and stuff, which is extremely, like, customizable for...
Oh, yeah. That's really cool that they have, like, the customizable armor and weapons to such a great degree. I mean, that's something we don't see a lot. You can see customization in some of these things, but apparently if that's supposed to be, like, if you're reading a Kickstarter, there's, like, 150 options for your armor. What?
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, huh.
And
so, yeah, it's, like, spacecraft, combat and stuff. It's like they got a lot of...
It's definitely interesting. And what, 15 species they're coming out with originally here?
Yeah, and they also reached a goal to get bonus, because they've surpassed... the Kickstarter, I think, is done.
It's going now, but they have reached their goal. No, they might have finished up this week.
No, I think it's finished, because it says it's coming November 2017.
Okay, yeah, okay. I think this is one of the ones I was talking about that finished up this week.
Yeah. So, yeah, they reached their goal to get, or was there one? I thought there was a goal for extra races. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, though. Oh, yeah, more alien creatures, which is 1,800, which they barely reached.
Trinids.
Tyranids. Oh, that's it.
I would not have pronounced it. They have an open playtest, too.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Open playtest you can get for free. Cool. So if you wanted to try it out, you could actually try it now. And again, yes, you can't back the Kickstarter, but hey.
Mm-hmm.
What more do you want to... Okay, so any more ideas you have to talk about this one here?
Not a lot. I just think it's kind of cool because it's an RPG that seems to focus a lot more on armor, weapons, and that kind of stuff than does like base stats. Although there are skills and stats, but it's not very clear on what they are. Probably could check out the open beta, but didn't have a lot of time to prep for this.
That's again my fault. My bad. I'm bad at this sometimes. Sorry,
I just didn't know what you were talking about when you said Kickstarter section. Pick one from the Kickstarter section. I'm like, what Kickstarter section?
So a little more background. This is the 7th edition of a game. First edition came back in 1990. 6th edition came out in 2000. So they did come out with a whole bunch of editions really quickly, it seems like. They had their first edition in 90, a revised / second edition also in 90, so I guess they didn't really like what they did. Third edition in 91, 92. Revised third edition, which is also fourth edition in 92. Fifth edition in 93. And then it was 6th edition in 2000, which was their 10th anniversary. So, yes. This is 17 years later, and they want to bring it back. And I love that, when you bring back a classic and update it for, you know, a little bit modern versions of what we believe an RPG has. It's like...
Especially since RPGs have drifted away from kind of being punishing to being more story-focused.
Yes. I think it's like, sometimes it's fun to play 2nd edition, but I wouldn't want to do it all the time. That's the best way of saying it.
Basically.
Yeah. Where are you, and why can't I get you right now? Anyway, so that is Battle Lords, 7th edition. You can, as I said, you can get the open playtest now if you want to try playing it. So definitely it's a cool thing to check out. And though you can't support them on Kickstarter anymore, unfortunately, that doesn't mean you can, of course, wait for it to come out on its own, because they'll probably release it at some point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it says November. It's like a month away.
Yeah, so I'm
At
guessing they have most material for a book, and this was really for printing, like a lot of people do. It's sort of like, we need money to actually print a big pile of these. We have this book here we made. We can't get it out, you know? So 1 month is not a lot. So they probably have like all the material together, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just needed the money to get like distribution and stuff. It almost seems like, and add some extra things, and pay for like publishing and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So they probably had a lot of this stuff together. But cool. All right, so Battle Lords. All right, I did want to talk about one myself. I'll try to keep this short so we can get our last 2 segments in pretty quickly. So for mine, I wanted to talk about Outbreak Undead, the survival horror simulation RPG 2nd edition. So, keeping it simple, it is a zombie survival simulation, but it's meant to be very realistic. The idea is not that you will overcome and survive forever. It's that you will eventually die. And they are updating it that they have both a player's handbook and a game master guide now. Rather than just, I think they've had a player's handbook as their previous release in the edition. They're like, we're doing 2 books here focused on it. And they do have some quick start rules on drive-through RPG you can get free. Also, it's another one of those, which are always great to get, that you can check some things out. And it's a game based upon the fact that you will eventually die. You're not going to stop that. And it's made to be very, I guess, like a hardcore survival video game kind of thing in a zombie apocalypse. You will, and it gives information on being in types of apocalypses, environments, and settings, which I think are very interesting things. Because, types of apocalypse, they'll use, what type of zombies are they? Are they, traditional slow-moving zombies? Fast zombies from something like, World
War Z?
World War Z. Is it, sentient ones, like some of the more comical movies? Or is it, biologically alive, like the British one? The one where they have red eyes, where they're not really zombies. It's like a weird plague where it's a rage virus or something. I can't remember it. Gosh darn it.
What about the weird love one that had R and something.
I don't know. But anyway, so they give you different types of apocalypses. Then they give you different types of environments. So you can do it in urban, Arctic, jungle, and swampland. Like an Arctic zombie survival game, which would be really terrible. I mean, it's like, that would be like I'm going to die quickly. Like, things like the jungle, the urban, and the swampland seem a little... Like, urban's probably the traditional one, but still...
I don't know. The zombies would probably just, not be able to move, so it wouldn't be very threatening.
I mean, I'm assuming that, whatever's causing them to be zombie-y, they are immune to the cold or something, probably.
Nah.
And then...
Cold is always a hard environment.
Yeah. And then
extreme
setting.
Cold and extreme desert.
Yeah. Kind of setting is also an interesting one because it can be divergent history, modern day, near future, or they call it fandom worlds. And fandom worlds is one that I'm interested in what they would do with that one. Because they are sort of realistic. I can understand you won't go, totally ridiculous, probably. But I could see, with fandom worlds being oh, it's akin to a game like D&D except without magic. So it's like a medieval world with zombies. I'd be interested in trying that, too. If the fandom worlds would allow for something like that, maybe that might be cool.
Fun.
Yes. It's like, what ho! It appears the dead have risen, and we shall smote them.
Oh no, Phineas.
Oh, if we're 1920s now, I was gonna do medieval.
I know, but you said what ho, so it made me think.
Okay, so there are rules in both of them for the players and the Game Master Guide. You earn survival points as players because it's going to be all about risk reward. You know, you will have opponents for your players. There'll definitely be realism. It'll be about tactics and a lot of things like that. You know, the stats are strength, perception, empathy, will, and assessment inventory, which is apparently an online 30-question personality test. You can play yourself as a character with confidence. Basically, it'll help you build a character of you and the character in the game too. If you want to use
Stop assessing my inventory.
Too bad. And you'll deal with like resources, both against zombies and other people, and you know, that stories of hope that you're hoping to get. Which, you know, it's always dashed. It's always going to be dashed. But so.
Not why, but Industrial Revolution period zombie game sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh god, yeah, that'd be interesting to try out.
What about steampunk zombies?
I mean, that you could probably do somewhere too.
You can make a mechanical horror.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about, there's a little bit of the, you know, okay, well, things are developing and then all of a sudden crash. Also, the whole fact of, you know, the really big business, like the you know, monopoly lords or whatever you want to call them, like the really big people, you know, what do they do? You know, it's kind of like I feel like it could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Zombies cause the stock market crash.
So they got a good number of goals that you can check out. Yeah, stock market crash. So most of them provide books and other extra materials. And at least you usually get the two main books, the Survivor's Guide and Game Master's Guide. It is funded. It's funded by a good amount. It's got 22 days to go. So, I mean, it's 4 times the amount they were looking for. So I'm sure they've got some really good stretch goals.
Nice.
You know, they were looking for 10,000. They've gotten 40 already. So definitely probably some good stretch goals to check out there if you're really interested in them. I think that's all I have to say about it. If anybody else wants to talk a little bit about their opinion on this one.
I do have a little bit for me is just another zombie thing.
Well, I think they don't have a lot of actual straight RPGs focused on zombies. Occasionally you can have an RPG with a zombie in it, but...
True.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of true. It's kind of a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's a lot of zombie things, but a zombie-focused RPG, I actually don't think I've seen. That's a good point.
And how many survival RPGs have you seen, where survival is the main focus, too?
I can think of at least one off the top of my head.
See, that's the thing is, like, I could think of one, too. But only one that I've ever really, like, seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, like, it's also, like, straight survival RPGs are rare, too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about 2 sci-fi RPGs before here, because those are a little more common. Granted, both of them had niches which they bring out to make them unique, but this is something that we haven't really explored, survival RPGs and then zombie survival. So, got plenty of video games that do that, but not a lot of tabletop RPGs that you can bring out. So that's cool. So, Outbreak Undead, the first edition would be out now if you want to check that out, or if you want to try to support them for getting the second edition. The Kickstarter, as I said, has been funded. You can check it out now. All right, let's move on to This Week in Gaming. So this is a segment where each of us talks about what we did this week on our tabletop. Wyrm, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Let's see. Not a ton happened with my Curse of Strahd game that I played with my friends on Sunday. But on my Thursday game, where I'm a player, it was actually kind of interesting because it was we got trapped in the mind of an illithid, of a mind flare, which was interesting. It's like we just had to beat his puzzles to get out, basically.
Okay.
Turned out kind of interesting.
Yeah, sounds like it would have. Okay, so like a little bit of stuff interesting things, but nothing major. That's understandable. Happens. Joe.
Nothing major either, because we haven't been able to roleplay.
No.
I forget what board games we did last Saturday, but yesterday we did some games. We did some Magic, which I somehow won both games.
That last game, I could have played it differently and won it. And the one before, I thought of it way afterwards, but Poirier technically could have won that one because he would have gotten the lifelink when he took it. Because the lifelink wasn't the... It's the enchantment. I read it and I didn't think about it. Gives creature a lifelink. So then whoever controls it would have the lifelink.
Okay, well,
granted,
whatever.
I think you still would have had enough pressure on him that you would have eventually eliminated him, but still.
Well, I would have blew up the creature that he could steal creatures with, so...
I mean, yes. Eventually the pressure would have been more than enough to get rid of him. You would have won, but it would have taken longer, I think.
Yeah. We also did some Frag, which we haven't done Frag in a long time.
Frag's an interesting one. Yep. I think that's Steve Jackson Games lets
Yes,
it out.
it is Steve Jackson Games.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of different editions. Unfortunately, the old one I had got destroyed, which I had some of the expansion stuff. So I only have the gold edition at the moment.
Which has some of the expansion things, but not most of them.
Yeah, like it doesn't have the exploding barrels and stuff like that, which I miss.
Mm-hmm.
But Poirier kicked our butts in that one.
Yes, he did.
I would have done a lot better, but I forgot I could attack twice in the first time I attacked you, and I would have blew you up.
Yeah. Things would
But
have started out better for you, but yes, you forgot. Some of the... Again, we hadn't played it forever.
And we also did Bang!
Mm-hmm.
Because Bang's always a good game, a good quick game with the world's smallest board.
And because I don't know if Ollie will show up here, but confession, I was with you guys doing stuff while I was with them doing stuff. For part of the time.
Is that what you... I did not know exactly what you were doing on your phone.
I was with them. I was muted the entire time, but doing stuff with them and listening.
That's what you were doing? Oh.
I was playing board games with people because I committed to that much earlier because they asked me to.
That's hilarious. It was like...
So that's
You're like, oh yeah, I could contribute. I just can't talk. It's
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Contribute. I just can't talk.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we both had distracted Mats.
Yes. Oh hey. Meh.
Streamcat.
Streamcat.
But that was my week in gaming.
Yep. Streamcat. Okay, my week in gaming was fairly simple too. I had the gaming with you. The gaming last Saturday with you, which I also cannot remember what we did. We got Chad though, didn't we?
Oh, we did Time Stories.
Time Stories. Yes, we finished up Time. We actually planned through Time Stories.
Time Story game.
Not well, but we did.
Yeah, we barely beat it. On our third run at negative...
20 turns or something.
Points.
It was terrible. We did really bad at it. We completed it, so we succeeded the mission, but badly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our first run we could have been a lot better just because Chad wanted to check out everything, and I'm like, we probably shouldn't, but whatever.
We know better than this. There are lots of dead ends, and you only have so much time.
But I don't think he understood that there was only so much time. So.
Yeah.
Didn't we also do Munchkin?
Yes, we did some Munchkin too.
Yes. So that was our last Saturday. And then I did do a little bit of my Tuesday thing where the only thing that's memorable is I learned that in Pathfinder, control wins at very high level is ridiculous. Because at 18th level with control wins, you can go up 6 categories in wind, which goes from no wind whatsoever to tornado. And at 19th level casting, it's a 760-foot radius tornado, quarter of a mile diameter tornado you can cause. It's like, if I want to destroy a city or village, there you go. Druids are the easiest to do it with control winds. I think 5th level spell, might be 6th level. Yeah. Druids. Don't need any... Meteor Swarm has nothing on that. Against the tornado you drop on people. That was a good lesson this week. All right. Mm-hmm. So, let's move on to our final segment. Yay! Consult the table. So, if anybody's out there in chat and has a question for us that you would like us to ask about any kind of tabletop, anything like that, if any of you two have anything that you think you want to talk about, discuss with this today, we can also add that in if you have one to ask. I personally don't have any great questions that I would bring to both the table and the grouping right now, but that's just me, of course. So, Chad, if you've got anything, or Joe or Wyrm, if you guys had anything you think you want to bring up here, go ahead.
I got nothing.
We don't get very often questions. That's one of those things I do have to say. But that's fine. No, and I think a couple of folks have thought about it, but have yet to come up with a great one to consult us about, which is fine. When you do, we will take them. Any kind of questions about your tabletop gaming experience that we can help you out. And again, for that one, there's a lot of places you can leave that. In the comments of Gathering the Roll, Discussing Tabletop, when they go up on my YouTube channel. You can tweet Joe. His Twitter has been in the guest thing, which I put out. If you want to just do exclam guests, it'll show you Joe's Twitter. You can tweet him there.
Yes.
You could leave it here when we're actually discussing it on the day. I have an email, discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. You can email it to. So there's lots of ways that if you ever have a question that you need to ask us, you can reach it. Either we'll discuss it here, or if it's something you just want to ask us and see if we can get an answer from us, go ahead and just say that. We don't have to put it up on air too. So, we're here for consolation. Consolation?
Consultation.
Consultation.
Consultation. Woo! Yes, there you go.
English.
I just looked up what a tornado does in Pathfinder. That is ridiculous.
It's 10d6.
For 1d10 rounds, you take 66 damage.
And that's if it doesn't pick you up again. And since control wins, you can alter it every round. And it is 3 hours. Because it's 10 minutes per level that it lasts. I was looking at that. Because I was thinking about it. It's like, I could create the tornado for a little while. Have the tornado go away. Everybody starts repairing everything. And then I'm like, up tornado again. And you could just have it on top of yourself and have it move with you. So you can just, like, walk through the eye of the tornado as everything around you gets devastated. It's... I don't know why people don't... Well, I guess because it's indiscriminate. That's the only thing, too.
Yeah. That's the one thing, is parties, party members.
Unless they stay close to you and you keep the radius enough, they're screwed, too. No. That was an interesting discovery.
But if you want to wipe a town off a map...
Yes.
There you go.
I used it on a jungle, so I wiped most of a jungle off the maps, so I'm just going to say that there. Mm-hmm. I made, like, a Sharknado with trees.
Sharktrito?
Now, that would be more impressive if they were treants.
Oh my god, that would have been wonderful. It's like...
Treant-nado.
Treant-nado. Yep. Alright, so, cool. Guess there's no questions today. If anybody, again, if you have a question, I'll let you know how it is. So, thank you all for coming out today. It's been a great another episode 51 of Discussing Tabletop. I guess, everybody, if you want to pimp out your stuff, Wyrm, we'll start with you, since you're the one that actually pimps out something more than Joe.
Yeah. So I have my channel, twitch.tv/diamondworm. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And that stream that's tonight is going to be at 4 o'clock Pacific time, PM. And it is going to be World of Darkness role-playing game. We had to... It goes every other week, but we had to skip the last one because just people couldn't make it. So, we'll be getting back into that. Find out what happens at the Goblin Market. What we buy, what we sell, what we what deals we accidentally make that we don't realize the repercussions of.
Sounds fun. Joe?
Our normal. Well, we're finally gonna have another episode of Treasure of the Lost Legion tomorrow.
Yes.
Unfortunately, be sad because this will be Rachel's last episode with us.
Fond farewell.
Yes. Other than that, the other thing I want to just keep drilling on is, next month, the weekend before Thanksgiving, we're going to be going to PAX Unplugged. Check out their site. They do have a full list of everything that's going on. If there's anything you guys want us to report on, let us know.
And as I said, I am going to have some activities there that will be more activities for anybody that wants to join me there. So if you're interested, just hit me up on Twitter or just email me or something. Just let me know if you're going to, and I can let you know what the schedule is. I'll probably still post something on Twitter about the activities that I'm planning just in general there. Any kind of special activities and get-togethers. So, it's a good opportunity to meet and greet folks, and just play some games together. It's fun. But that's PAX Unplugged, which is next week. And we'll probably have a...
Next month.
Next month. I'm so sorry. Next month. And I'll do something special with Discussing Tabletop and all that stuff when I figure out what it will be. That's the important thing to know. When I figure out what it will be, that's when we will put it out there. Other than that, for my end, of course, I have all my normal schedule of things. Expect some videos out today on the YouTube. Normal kind of schedule for that. I'll be back, of course, tomorrow for Treasure of the Lost Legion. I'll do something in the evening after that. Theoretical normal schedule for the week. Then after that point in time, can I think of anything else off the top of my head? Please, okay. Braid, think quickly. Arg.
No braid for you.
I know, it's bad. It keeps trying to forget things. Of course, there's all the normal ways of supporting me. Just either following here, subscribing on YouTube. You can always subscribe here. I got the 2 new emotes. The one at the lower amount, and then Streamcat is my top tier one right now. Of course, because Streamcat keeps showing up.
Streamcat!
Streamcat! That's right.
I still say you need to have stream these.
No, that might be if I actually meet Big Partner, then maybe you'll have a stream these to scream in there.
And, yeah, and I just want to say, the best way you can support me is actually to follow me,
Yes.
is because I'm getting close-ish to affiliate, and,
Yes.
so I just need to, the only goal I have to meet now is that 50 followers, and I'm at 34 right now.
So yeah, follow Wyrm. I definitely recommend checking him out too. I do, of course, have donations, Patreon, all that kind of stuff. If you don't want to just subscribe or you want to get something else from just it, if you don't want emotes, you want something else. The Patreon even has $1 support. I've got on there set up. So there's lots of ways that you can show support, both just existing and monetarily, if you really want to support me a lot. Same for most of us out here. There's always great ways you can support us in our content. And as I said, things like the Friday RPG Test Kitchen, which we're working on, we'll probably have more stuff the more support you guys give us for that kind of thing. So we're experimenting and actually playing some of these RPGs. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great day then. Thank you all for joining us, and we will be back next week for some more Discussing Tabletop, where there'll be plenty of more things in the tabletop world to discuss. So everybody have a great afternoon, a great day, and a great weekend. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.